Tyrus, do you have high hopes? Are you optimistic?
You know, we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. You know, if they, you know, they play their game, we play our game. You know, we just hope for the best, and you know, hopefully the best team wins. But you know, as long as we're prepared. I mean, he's literally sounds like me after every football game. He's not setting the expectation any higher than he is. He has no idea how this is going to go, and he's not. And the best part is he's not giving a soundbite for the media to run with. Because if he said this is going to be great, I'm going to knock this out, and we're going to have peace. Bam, and something doesn't go right, CNN, the orgasm would be unreal. There'd be, there'd be like confetti everywhere. Like Don Lemon would sing songs, and it would just be, he failed. Oh my, everyone, yay! There's a missile coming. Doesn't matter. It's great. He failed. So he's playing it. He's playing like he's playing poker. Yeah. He's not showing you his hand. He's not giving you anything more than we'll see what happens. And I'm cool. That's how I handle everything.
But what we do know is obviously that he's been moved there. He's been moved to a more dangerous situation. It wasn't by the governors. It wasn't by the prison guards. It wasn't by any usual process that normally takes place in a prison like this. It was sent down straight from the top, from the Home Office. Completely unprecedented. These things don't normally happen. He told me directly on Tuesday, the facts that he told me he wanted out immediately, as fast as possible, because if anything does happen to him and he's at massive risk, he wants the world to know exactly what's going on.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
All right. I am taking over the 4th hour today to take your phone calls. I was going to go directly to him right now, but Tommy Robinson's spokesman needs to come on earlier. He's in the street in London, big developments, Kalen Robertson. So we're going to talk to him for this segment, a little bit of the next, and I promise we're going to take like 20 of your phone calls with Roger Stone about how's Trump doing? What do you make of the IG report? North Korea? I mean, are we thankful for how things have turned around? I know I sure am. I wasn't just a negative person before. I didn't like what the globalists were doing. We're taking the country back. History's happening. And we're such an instant gratification society. Even a lot of Trump supporters I know are like, well, he's the guy we needed. He's a wrecking ball. You know, he's not perfect. You know, man, I've sacrificed a lot. But nothing like Tommy Robinson, a political prisoner, who they now admit was moved into a Muslim wing, and who they are saying they're going to kill him, and there is an Imam putting a fatwa out. And only Drudge picked this up 2 days ago. 3 days ago, the media was saying I made it up, Roger. And it really frustrates me that they're like this. We broke that Hillary's server was broken into from international intelligence sources and Colonel Schaefer in January of 2016.
It's extraordinary. You could expect this to be happening in a Muslim country, in a Middle Eastern country. That it's happening in the UK just boggles the mind. And the silence of the national media, of the mainstream media, with the exception of Drudge, it's extraordinary.
Without Drudge, you wouldn't even know that I was banned on YouTube. Then when they reinstated us, Bloomberg said it was a mutiny someone did without authorization. How sensational is that? Yeah. And I don't mean to kiss Drudge's butt, it's true. Without Drudge, he's the guy that continues to be the final domino to break open the wall.
He does have enormous reach. It reminds me of when they said, oh, no, we didn't turn off Sean Hannity's Twitter feed. Some guy spilled Coca-Cola on the control board. It was all a mistake.
And what they're doing is testing it to get us just worn out of hearing about it until they finally ban you or Milo. Let's go for this segment, and then part of the next, we're going right to calls to Kalen Robertson, and he joins us right now on the street. Again, he had the bravery to go on the air when no one else would. He's Tommy's spokesperson. Tommy told me that directly before he even went to jail about a week before. Tommy is fighting for his life right now in the Muslim wing. The media spins it and goes, well, it's a Muslim wing. The whole prison isn't 70%, only that wing. So they've picked an Islamic prison with a Muslim wing to throw in Tommy Robinson, and he's got new developments for us. Kalen, thank you for joining us and giving us updates. It's good to see his lawyers coming out and confirming everything you said a day after you said it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us as well, and thank you so much for covering all of this stuff. Sorry, it's just very busy in London. We're trying to do this period really quickly right now. So basically, the news reports that you've just been talking about, completely insane. They said that it was 70% made up, nothing out of nowhere. Tommy told us directly that it looked like that. It looked about 70% on his wing, and they were saying, oh, well, there's no such thing as a 70% Muslim, so the whole thing's nonsense. But they're using their usual tactics to try to discredit everything that we're doing and to try to discredit all of the facts, to try and brush it all over and say that nothing is actually wrong. So obviously, reiterating our phone call a couple of days ago, the facts are still the same. We have had a little bit of communication since then, and he still is okay. However, I can reconfirm everything we spoke about the other night. He was moved to a really dangerous prison. It was really bad. It has a much higher Muslim population. It's actually got a record of having terrible, violent crime, if you look it up as well. He's actually just been moved to solitary confinement, and he's sort of in a room with a blue mat on the floor, completely bizarre. So we know that at least he's safe in that period for now. But because he's in that situation, it means that communication is going to be a little bit more difficult in the meantime. So we don't know if he's going to be immediately put back into that really dangerous wing. We don't know if he's going to be shoved to another prison that's even more dangerous. Those threats have been passed on to him. But what we do know is obviously that he's been moved there. He's been moved to a more dangerous situation. It wasn't by the governors. It wasn't by the prison guards. It wasn't by any usual process that normally takes place in a prison like this. It was sent down straight from the top, from the Home Office. Completely unprecedented. These things don't normally happen. And that's why we've got so many people now writing to the Home Office, so much pressure from people in America trying to say, what on earth are you doing? You're basically putting someone in the firing line with direct orders from the top. It doesn't make any sense, and those are the new developments.
And that's the bombshell news. It's up on Infowars.com. Thank God Drudge linked to it last night. Order to send Tommy Robinson to heavily Muslim-populated prison came from the top. Activist safety and danger as a result of high-risk status being removed from his file. And now you say that they've thrown him back in solitary confinement, which is more cruel and unusual punishment for reporting that there was a trial on Muslim grooming gangs, which even the media reported on. They said he reported on the trial itself. And so 13 months in the Islamic wing, a certain death sentence, or 13 months in solitary confinement, silencing him, being able to talk to you every few days. So I guess you haven't been able to talk to him since you talked to him on Tuesday and gave us that emergency message.
No, it seemed like they really weren't happy about that information going out, and they seemed to cut off a lot of things. We have had some communication, but not directly between him and I, that he is actually still safe and he's okay, but they're really clamping down on the information that's coming out. He doesn't want him talking to the outside world. He doesn't want they don't want any fuss being made. They don't want you doing what you're doing. They don't want Judge putting it on the front page. They want it to be a nothing burger. They tried to silence it as soon as he got in prison, as we know, but that didn't work. And now they're trying to say that it's all nonsense because the statistics are slightly off. But that's what they're trying to do. So they don't want any information coming out about him because it builds up a frenzy. It gets people upset. It gets people up rightfully. And so the next stages are basically going through the legal process. That's what we're doing now, and doing everything we can to make sure that he's not in that situation, that he can have communication to the outside world, because he wants this information to get out. He told me directly on Tuesday the facts that he told me he wanted out immediately, as fast as possible, because if anything does happen to him and he's at massive risk, he wants the world to know exactly what's going on. And he knows people are listening.
And again, when he first got arrested, for 3 days there was a D notice where the media couldn't report he was arrested, and they had news saying, I made that up and you made that up. Then they confirmed that. Then they had an order not to cover the demonstrations. I mean, this is so authoritarian what the UK is becoming. And now Roger and I are talking about being political prisoners. We're under attack. Paul Manafort has been grabbed and put in jail today. I mean, this is really wild.
Oh, people don't seem to realize that it's going to happen to them next. It's bizarre because it's Tommy and because he's perceived as extreme. They think, oh, of course he's getting thrown away. He looks a little bit rough, doesn't he? He looks like he'd be capable of that. But after Tommy, it's going to come for you. It's going to come for everybody else. It's going to come for people in the middle. It's going to come from anyone who's even slightly dissident and who has said anything even slightly against the government or the PC policies or anything that's been going on in the last sort of 10 years in Britain. And they don't realize how creeping this process is and how slow and how creeping it is. And they don't care. It's so blatant as well. They'll just make him disappear. 1 second, Tommy's on the street bringing the facts. He's got millions of views. He's in the public spotlight. The next second, he's in a room for 23 hours a day on a mat on the floor. They make people disappear within seconds, and they can still get away with it. Well, just about. We'll see what's going to happen soon. But it's absolutely baffling how blatant and open and in the open.
All right, let's talk about what we can do and just what's happening in the UK when we come back. Go ahead.
We need to pray. We need to lift Tommy Robinson up with prayer. All the info warriors, we need to be praying for his safety right now.
Let's pray for him when we come back.
I think it's important.
Absolutely. Prayer is number one, folks. It's absolutely numero uno. We talked about that just the other day. It's true. There are no atheists in foxholes, and my head is spinning. Then we're going to all your phone calls. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. When freedom fails, the best men rot in filthy jails, and those that cry to appease are hung by those they tried to please. Well, Manafort is a political prisoner, and you notice they've charged him with obstruction, with witness tampering. So there's no Russiagate. That's all falling apart. The judges admit that. So now, and there's no you actually laundering money. That's not true. But we're going to get you like Martha Stewart. You didn't insider trade, but we say you lied to federal agents, the same type. Well, it was actually Comey. It was actually, this same FBI. It was actually Mueller that went after her. So, again, you've got these crooks at the top who don't go after real gangsters. They go after Martha Stewart or Paul Manafort. And then when there's nothing and their trial's falling apart, oh, we've got a new charge. You're obstructing justice.
When they want to avoid revealing what they know in discovery. You see, that they just don't want you to know what the evidence is against you, which is fundamentally against our American system. You're allowed to know what the charges are, what the evidence is.
And now Trump has tweeted about it. This just in. President Trump, wow, what a tough sentence for Paul Manafort, who has represented Ronald Reagan, Bob Dole, just like you did, and many other top people and campaigns. Didn't know Manafort was the head of the mob. What about Comey and Crooked Hillary and all of the others? Very unfair. And that's why Trump goes on to say the left is weaponizing our institutions against anyone they deem evil. Drain the swamp. Absolutely. And let's go back. Let's go back to the spokesperson for Tommy Robinson, Kaylin Robertson. Kaylin, we're seeing military tactics here. And everybody should follow you on Twitter to get the updates. You're the only guy that has the courage to speak. That's what Tommy chose you to do that. And we're honored. There you are. Everybody should follow you at Kaylin Rob on Twitter so they can actually get the unvarnished, unfiltered information from Tommy, who has a fatwa out on him. Let's talk about that Imam. Drudge linked to that story yesterday. Let's give us the latest on that. And then talk about how folks can support Tommy, because we're not going to let people forget about him. That's what they hope happens.
Yeah, I think they got a little bit lost in translation on Tuesday, but seriously, that story is actually completely significant. So when Tommy arrived, he realized that the head imam of that prison had known about his arrival 2 days before he got there. Now, none of the prison guards knew, and then none of the governors knew. None of the governors in the previous prison knew, or the previous prison guards knew. Nobody knew about his move except for the imam of that prison. That doesn't make any sense. And that's what was such a massive story about this, because the orders came from the top and the imam knew about it, which doesn't make any sense. And so he was going around telling everybody 2 days before that he was going to be arriving, which Tommy said gives them enough time to prepare weapons, which gives them, that's an old prison tactic to tell a certain profile, whether it's a gangster or someone from a rival gang that's about to arrive, to say that they're about to arrive within 48 hours. And that gives them enough time to I think it's with toilet paper and with knives and things like that, to be able to pull everything together to basically formulate a plan to attack them. And that's what it was about. And this is why it's such a scandal, because who on earth was it that passed that information down to the imam of the prison that he was going to arrive? That was so much above the governors who knew about it. It doesn't really make any sense. And that's what's so shocking about it. Obviously, it's somebody who's been colluding with the high-profile imams of Muslim of Britain. That's what it looks like the situation is. It's someone who's colluding, who knows information that the rest of us seem not to, who's passed down the orders, or who knows the person who's passed down the orders to have him moved on. It's completely bizarre. But, I don't normally divulge into conspiracy theories, but there is no other reasonable outcome or thought process that you can come to when you look at the facts here.
And you got Sadiq Khan there. Tell us about the Islamicist Home Secretary, the guy that is running all this.
Oh, well, it's been a complete mess as soon as he was taken in. It seems to be a very, very sketchy character. He's been going after right-wing and conservative personalities for decades, ever since he's been involved in politics. He's been going after all of them. He's been going on about hate speech. He despises Tommy Robinson. I think he's actually mentioned something about this case, and he is happy about the fact that, that right-wingers are being oppressed in Britain and they're being silenced and pushed away. He's basically a replica of Sadiq Khan, totally in bed together, totally colluding together. It's the same sort of cancerous infestation that's come into our political system and our government in the last sort of 10 years. This really awful, highly censored, ideology that despises anybody who speaks out against Islam and despises anybody who even resembles Tommy Robinson. I absolutely believe that he has something directly to do with this, directly to do with Tommy being moved. That didn't come from Tommy, that came from me, by the way. But yeah, the whole thing absolutely stinks. It's a disaster.
And I want to be clear, there has been a golden era of Islam. They invented a lot of stuff in those countries. The people, a lot of them are smart. But the biggest group getting killed by radical Islam are Muslims. And these guys are all allied with it. The UK brings in former ISIS fighters, Al-Qaeda, pays for their houses, everything. There is a red carpet all over Europe, the most radical Islamists, because they want to use them as the muscle and the enforcers. So, TommyRobinson.online, is that the best place, the proper place for people that want to donate?
That's the best place to do it. There are a couple of other sites actually who have just started working with Tommy's family to raise money for them specifically. I think Rebel Media has just done one. Those are also actually authorized, but their main site is TommyRobinson.online/support. That goes directly to his legal defense fund to fight the prison system, to get him out as soon as possible. So that's the best.
That's right. And I don't want to just get into negative news here. Tommy chose this. He's a hero. We're backing him to the hilt. But we've got Soros getting thrown out of his command base in Hungary. You've got major anti-globalist movements everywhere. Italy's pulling out. The EU's unelected. It's falling apart. They're in full panic mode. Nationalism's exploding. Trump's winning. Those of us that are low-hanging fruit, though, that aren't protected like Trump is to a certain extent, are going to take the wrath of the zombie forces. So they want to take out Trump's resistance command that brought him into power. They don't understand Trump's already moved light years ahead of that. We're important for the future and the midterms and everything we do, because that'll only embolden them if they can take us down. We're still critical, but I want to explain that we are expendable and that we've already moved past that and we've already had victory. So no matter what they do to us, and if they kill Tommy, God loves him, he's going to heaven, and you know, at the same time. And we should fight for his life. But understand, we shouldn't let them demoralize us. If they destroy me, if they destroy Roger, if they destroy him, we're men, we chose this. We're not complaining about it. We want to live. He's got grandkids, I've got children. I want to move on and live to be 150. I'll never commit suicide. But the big move is standing up to the globalists. So we're winning. Our sacrifice has not been in vain. And listeners need to know, you are the victory. You're the tip of the spear, because there's no better place than Tommy Robinson. We are the cutting edge. But it doesn't feel good to be in this fight and to know we're not just getting our butt kicked. We're winning the football game, even though we're bloody, but the other guy's bloodied worse, Roger. And to see Trump starting to hit on all cylinders, it gives me a lot of hope.
Well, because the movement's bigger than Alex Jones or Roger Stone or even Donald Trump, and the movement will never be stopped.